Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, gonna go over a story titled, My Boyfriend is a Passport Bro, and I Had No Idea. And guys, this entertaining story, which you're gonna see is definitely entertaining, is about a gal. She's 22 years old. She says she's from Central Europe, doesn't specify what country in Central Europe. And recently she found out that her boyfriend, who's 24, who moved there recently, by snooping around his computer, I might add, is a passport bro. And instead of taking time to think about things, talk to him, whatever, why are you a passport bro, type of thing, this gal loses her cool in ways you wouldn't believe. Posts her thing online, and she is throwing the biggest temper tantrum I've seen in a long time over this, instead of actually keeping her cool and talking to it and letting logic kind of dictate. And you're going to see how this whole thing plays out with her breaking up with a guy. And that'll be a funny one to go over here for multiple reasons. Number one, any of you guys ever been in a relationship, marriage, girlfriend, whatever, and had your lady or girl lose her cool and completely snap, go on a psychotic rant because just her emotions are taking over? It's just like this, where there's no logic involved, and she just won't shut the hell up, completely sounding off, making a mountain out of a molehill instead of listening to logic and all that. You find this pretty funny, because I've had girlfriends like that, and honestly, I remember sometimes just laughing how ridiculous it is. And this one is no different. Two, how it doesn't make a difference where you are in the world, in the West, or in areas where passport bros, I'm going to get into that in a second, think they can find traditional quality gals. Women are women no matter where you live, and they're going to have hissy fits and sound off wherever you go. And three, how it's funny how in reality, she ought to take this as a compliment. That guys are leaving the West in droves who do want to have relationships, who do want to actually have a wife one day, and they're going to places, Southeast Asia, Central Eastern Europe, where the clause of feminism hasn't had as much of an impact, to find actually some gals that don't behave like so many, not all, but so many women in the West. And that should be taken as a compliment to her and her culture, not as this big insult to her. Now, in fairness, she's a little blindsided by this, and I can see how someone may feel like they're being lied to or tricked or something like that. So I can understand initially feeling a little upset about this, but the way she goes off and handles it, good Lord. Now, before I get into this, real quick, what is a passport bro, in case you don't know? A passport bro is a term for a guy that goes to find a woman elsewhere, outside his country. Typically, this is a guy from the West, United States, or maybe Western Europe, or other parts that have Western cultures, and they're tired of how the women where they live behave, typically infected by the feminist movement, in varying degrees, of course. They see how, and it's quite true, so many gals nowadays are in varying degrees behaving more masculine than feminine. They're tired of these gals that are so ball-busting, hard-headed, masculine types. They want actually a traditionally feminine gal that is nurturing and loving and actually respects her guy and, is going to do things like, God forbid, cook and not be offended to cook, not think it's beneath her, or clean, or things like that. Not see every guy as an idiot, or on the extreme degree, butch their hair, tattoos everywhere, or be carousel riders because you can't be empowered unless you're hooking every guy in town. That type of thing. And there's degrees to this, and not every gal's like that. But anyway, guys are looking for gals overseas that have a reputation for not being like the gals in the West. And many have had success, and many have come to find that, guess what? You can still find gals that behave like a-holes wherever you live. So that's what the passport bro is. That's the gist of it. So, jumping into this says here, this is obviously her writing this. She says, I've been with my boyfriend for 8 months. Things have been going really well between us up until a few days ago. Okay, 8 months. So you think you'd give the guy a chance to hear what he has to say. A little backstory here. I'm from a Central European country and he's American. Uh-oh. He said he settled in my country because of work opportunities. We met in a coffee house where I work as a barista. We clicked instantly and started going out a few weeks later. Everything was so good and we had so much fun. Fast forward to last week. He asked me to help him with some documentation. I was happy as I know my language is hard to understand, even translate sometimes. When I was searching online on his laptop, I stumbled upon some weird websites. She was digging. Now I know Google will have a history and stuff like that, but still, she was digging a little bit. They were all about passport bros. I didn't even know what the hell that was at first. And basically had tips on how to settle in foreign countries, where to find traditional bride, which country has the most beautiful women, etc. I was shocked and so confused. Okay, so what's wrong with some guy Googling where can you find beautiful women? Is that so horrible? Or a traditional bride? Not mail order bride, just a gal that actually acts traditional. Right? Foreign countries. I don't see the problem with this. But I know I shouldn't have done it, but you did anyway. But I wanted to gain some clarity and checked his profile on one of these websites. He had full-on conversations about Eastern European countries, European women, how easy or hard it is to take them out on dates, if it would be better to settle down in Asia instead, and so on. He decided to settle down in my country. So, okay, immediately she's thinking, what the hell? I've been tricked. Well, not really. Let's be honest, when women are looking for a certain type of guy, they do their homework. We all know this. I have a friend, one of the few female friends I had, who worked as a banker. And she had access to certain information. And whenever she met a new guy, she was immediately trying to find everything she could on the guy. Where he lived, the house, what he paid for it, the condo, trying to figure out everything about these guys. So women do their digging just as much as guys do. But God forbid this guy does it, and we have a fit. I feel dehumanized and like he fetished me. And the women from my country. Also, our whole relationship is built on a lie because he's told me he settled down here because he got a job offer. Maybe he did get a job. Maybe he was looking in different countries and then looked at what the job prospects. Because guess what? You Americans can get a job. Their companies here have operations overseas. And he took it. He wasn't going to say, I came here to find, a foreign bride or something like that. After I found all this stuff, I quickly took a few pictures as proof and then made up an excuse to come home. He tried to reach out a few times, but I told him I don't feel well, so I can't meet up right now. I can't even look at him. I feel so disgusted. Am I overreacting? So she posts that online, and of course the entire comment section is all these gals and people pretty much telling her that she's right, he's wrong, he's the devil, how dare he, that blah, 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 blah. And now we're going to go on to the update to her justifying her reasons for what she does. And let me tell you, holy crap. And again, I can understand that somebody might initially feel tricked, but that's not the case here. But give the guy a chance to talk about things like adults. She says, I want to come on here and reply to a few things and give a little update. I had no idea the last post was going to blow up so quickly and get so many comments. For this reason, I didn't go into too many details in my last post. She posted on Reddit, which is notoriously have a lot of people on the left, far left. And you don't think you're going to get a lot of people commenting on this and making him out to be the devil? She says, number one, when I read his comments on those websites, it felt dehumanizing and fetishizing. They're making stereotypes about us that are either untrue or outdated. She says, we have all kinds of women here, just like in other countries. Some like to party, some do not. Some are looking for flings, some want long-term relationships, some want to stay single and childless forever. It is true that most of us are submissive women who obey their husband. Oh no, she says, it's not true that most of us are submissive women who obey their husbands. Try telling that to a Central European woman face-to-face and see her reaction. So I agree with what she just said there. That, guess what? There are women here that like flings. Some are for long-term relationships. Some want to stay single and childless. And guess what? No, we're not all going to be submissive. The women that are submissive to men are the ones that are truly in love with their guys, and they see him as a catch and a leader, and they respect him. That's the only way it's going to happen, no matter where you live. But still, the odds are in these countries to find more traditional women than in the West. But of course, she's blowing things out of proportion. Number two, He told me he came here for work, and it's funny we met because he wasn't planning on getting into a relationship. Judging by his comments online, it was a lie, and he came here to look for a traditional wife. Well, maybe that was his original thing, but still, he was probably hired, like saw an opportunity there and took the job for a company, a US-based company that had an operation in her country. And like he was going to go tell you that he came to find his bride. That would kind of make him look desperate, don't you think? Number 3. Surprisingly, he never actually told me that he wanted a traditional relationship. He doesn't do anything that considered traditional in my culture either. I work hard for my own money and go to university, so I don't want to be a housewife or stay-at-home mom in the near future. We talked about this, so he knows. What worries me is that someone online told him to start a relationship and then try to make it more traditional over time. I don't know if that's what he's trying to do or if he's changed his mind. I have no way of knowing that and don't want to take the risk of wasting my time. Well, who knows? Maybe he was doing it, maybe he wasn't. But last time I checked, don't women tend to get into relationships with the idea they can change their guy, mold him in the way that they want him to be? Gee, that's never happened, right? So if a guy is maybe trying to mold her, so it's okay that the gals do it, but we don't? I mean, it's okay if they do it, but if we do it, we're the bad guy? Number 4. He works for an IT company, allegedly. I've never been to his workplace, so I have no proof of this. It might be me being naive to think it's true, but we have a lot of companies like this in my country, and a lot of foreigners work IT in the capital city, so who knows? I bet you that's true. He probably works for Google or somebody like that, 5. She says, in quotes, traditional women and traditional relationships can mean different things in different countries depending on culture and social norms. He wants a traditional woman by American standards, but that's not the same as what we consider a traditional woman here. It's pretty clear from his online comments that he has no clue about this difference. It's offensive because it shows he knows nothing about our culture and history and is just relying on stereotypes and outdated assumptions. Well, traditional generally is, like I said, women that are much more softer, nurturing, loving, not ball-busting, hard-headed feminists that you have more in the West. Now, not every gal's like that, and there's degrees to this. That's what he's talking about. Or women that actually take care of themselves or aren't offended and don't think it's beneath them to cook a meal or clean or do things like that, or actually want husbands, those types of things. So it doesn't make any difference what culture you're in. Those are still feminine qualities. Feminine qualities and masculine qualities are the same wherever you go. So that's just being a little inaccurate with her. Number 6. Some people in the comments try to justify his desire for a traditional wife, stating that European women should be happy and understanding about this. But what does he bring to the table? What does he bring to the table? He obviously works, if obviously he's telling the truth, and I think he is, for obviously an IT company, which is probably an American company, a big one. Therefore, the odds are he does very well financially. You are a barista. You make coffee. Okay, maybe in your coffee shop you do better than maybe here in the United States, like in a Starbucks or something like that. But regardless, I'm sure he makes way, way, way more than you, and with benefits and potentially stock options. So that's considered to be a catch. That's what he brings to the table. And I might add, he's an American. Okay, despite what many people may think about America, you got multitudes of people trying to become citizens here every day. Multitudes sneaking in every day. So it's considered to be a pretty good thing. Even though you may love your culture, it can be a benefit to you if that became something serious with marriage and all that. So he brings a lot to the table. The question is, what do you bring to the table? Well, you are 22, so you're in your prime. I'm assuming you're probably good looking and all that. But even then, okay, that's really about it. Okay? And you're someone that gets offended easily, flies off the handle. He brings way more to the table than you do, and he could easily find somebody else. She goes on, why should a traditional Central European woman choose him instead of a man from our country who speaks our language, knows our customs and traditions, grew up in our culture, and respects us according to our standards? Didn't you make the choice to date this guy for the 8 months? So you answer my question. Why are you dissing that when you were actually with this guy for 8 months who doesn't know your culture, doesn't speak your language, right? Obviously, there are things about him you liked. To imply that I should be grateful that an American man chose me, like I'm some sort of product, is offensive. It makes me look like I'm inferior. Very weird logic. Sorry. No, he's not with you because you're inferior. Because again, American women have just demoted themselves so much that he's actually looking for a gal that is from a part of the world that actually has some nice traditional values, a beautiful woman physically, and all that. So you should take it as a compliment that guys want to come to your part of the world and look for great women because they can't find a whole lot over here anymore. That's not an insult, but do you see the way she's flying off the handle and just having this big hissy fit here? Again, any of you guys have been married or had girlfriends freak out over something like this, which makes no sense? Oh, we're not done yet. Number 7. Some people commented that my post was rage bait or fake because of my English or because Central European women won't think like this. This just proves the ignorance some people have about my country. Women here have careers, open their own businesses, or learn to become doctors, lawyers, beauticians, chefs, etc. Most of us in younger generations have modern mentalities, except for some villages, but villagers probably won't go for an American man who doesn't know a thing about our culture. Ha ha. Okay, that's great that you all can make something of yourselves in that country and everything like that, but still, I bet likely the odds are that you're a lot more traditional and feminine than so many American women have, or Western women, thanks to the feminist movement. She says, most of us learn a second language since we are 6 to 8 years old. My niece literally goes to a bilingual kindergarten and learns 2 languages at the same time at age of 3, so I'm not sure why it's so far-fetched that people here speak English so well. I think that's awesome these countries do it. American school system is ridiculous. Kids should learn 2 languages when they're starting off young. I agree with that. We're not some idiots who have no idea about the modern world. Most of us speak at least 1 or 2 foreign languages, usually English, German, sometimes Spanish, except the boomers and Gen X, they had to learn Russian back in the day. Well, I'm not knocking you for that. I think that's cool. I also use an app to double check my grammar, guilty as charged. And to the person who said the Central European countries are basically the same as England and France, it sounds like someone failed their history class. Please don't be ignorant and educate yourself. Well, I will say, I don't blame her there. I don't blame her on that one. Yeah, there's a lot of dumbasses out there. I'm not going to deny that. But not all guys that are looking for a gal overseas because the ones so many here are less than desirable are ignorant and stupid and, buffoons. Number 8. I told my boyfriend, my ex-now boyfriend, that I'd like to break up with him. We had a small conversation on the phone, and I told him I wasn't in a position to continue the relationship for personal reasons. At first, he was confused and tried to convince me not to break up with him. Then he accepted it. Well, you know what? If she's going to just end it without really actually talking to him about it, which clearly she didn't. She just says she's breaking up with him for personal reasons, which shows she's still pissed off and can't try to calm down, thinks things through. So actually, she's doing him a favor. And you know what? This guy, as an American working in their country and obviously doing well, and if he's good looking, so what? He can replace her in a heartbeat. But what probably will happen is if he's smart, is he's like, okay, I wish you the best. If change your mind, call me. If that's what he wants, of course. And by not chasing after her and she calms down, she might go chase after him. You never know. Number 9, to the comments that suggested it, and thank you for the idea, by the way, I posted my story in a local group so other women can be aware of this whole passport bro thing and hopefully not fall victim to men like this. She's acting like American men go over there and seduce them and then put them in a big box and ship them back to the United States and make them their prisoner. It's not like that at all. They're just looking for better quality women. At least they thought. As expected, they found the whole thing disgusting and were grateful for the heads up. We are not here for others' enjoyment and to fulfill some submissive wife fantasy of someone who looks at us as stereotypes rather than individuals in varying personalities and preferences. She's starting to sound a lot like an American feminist to me, I might add, which goes to show you these guys that have convinced they can go overseas and find a gal that's, not going to behave in certain ways. Well, guess what? Women are women around the world, as men are men around the world, for better or for worse. Number 10. I told you this was a psychotic rant. Number 10. I'm not against foreigners and mixed couples. My brother-in-law is Arab, speaks my language, and knows my culture. We also speak some Arabic and know about respect his culture too. He didn't come here as a SCX tourist, but as an actual worker who wanted to change his life. If you go to a country, go because you're interested in it and want to learn about the new culture or have some great opportunities, not because you want to disrespectfully lie to women just so you can get into a relationship or get some SCX. Okay, so are you telling me that never in the history of mankind have women ever misrepresented themselves to get a guy? That's never happened here. So if a guy, in her eyes, is misrepresenting himself, because there were some things going on there, fair enough, but it wasn't ill-intended, he's the devil. But if the gals do it, oh, it's okay, no problem. Women pull this crap in different ways all the time. Period. How many women pretend to be interested in things that they're not at all to attract a certain type of guy? How many say, oh, I'm not interested in marriage, because the guy says he's not interested in marriage. And then they get together, and next thing you know, she's pressing him to get married. Or I don't want to have kids. And the next thing you know, you get bait and switching and all that. Come on here. I do not think this guy went into this whole thing with any malice or anything like that. I can't speak for everyone in my country, but most people won't tolerate this behavior and will judge passport bros negatively. It's hypocritical to want a traditional wife but constantly move from country to country and woman to woman. Some guys do that, but it doesn't mean this guy's doing that. And if you would actually talk to him and give him a shot, but instead you got to fly off the handle. That behavior definitely isn't considered traditional, at least not in my country. If you want a casual relationship, that's fine, because there are women here who want the same, but just be honest about it. Anyway, says thank you for all the comments, explanations, and advice. They were eye-opening and really helpful. Even though I'm disappointed and feel a bit used, I'm grateful that I know the whole truth now. We live it and we learn, I guess. Well, you don't know the whole truth. You're basing this based on you're fired up, you're upset. You instead of talking to him, you got to sound off, post your thing online, which of course you're going to get people who are going to react to it and make him out to be the bad guy here. And that's that. He could honestly looking for a traditional gal, want a relationship sincerely. Got a job in your country, working for an American company, met you, had a great time with you, has been sincere, and then you find this out, and instead of talking to him about it, thinking that you're just a notch on his belt, he's going to move on to the next barista, you throw a temper tantrum, break up with him, and don't even tell him the real reasons why. So again, I tell you, gentlemen, that for those of you that want to do the passport bro thing, okay, fine, go for it. You may have more traditional feminine gals that have been affected by the feminist movement, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia. But guess what? Women are still going to behave like women, and men are going to behave like men. And when they get pissed off, overreact, let their emotions run the system, and sound off like this, and behave just like any gal right down the street where you live in America. And there have been guys who have been successful in this and found great gals overseas that aren't like so many, not all, but so many here in the States. And others that learn that they're just the same. So there you go. That'd be a pretty funny one to go over here about throwing the giant temper tantrum, overreacting. And again, gals overseas should take as a compliment that men actually want to come from the West and actually find a great gal. Sure, some guys want to bang everything they see. Okay, fine. It's not like you have gals that are saints either. But a lot probably are just doing it because they want to meet a great gal and they can't do it here for what they're looking for. Don't be so quick to judge and lose your shit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm probably not going to find out what happens here, but I thought it'd be a fun one to go over here. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Then what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.